Good morning. This is Bob Passy again after a short winter hiatus. Back with Democracy Now! America. We've all had a chance now to deal with the realities of the Donald Trump presidency, and as frustrated or angry as some of us might be, we need to figure out how to move forward. That we are dealing with that reality, and we need to simply understand that if we want to affect changes, we have to decide what's the most effective and most focused way that we can use our energy. Energy is going to be an important piece for us. I'm talking about personal energy. I mean, the whole energy issue is also something else, and not unimportant, but mostly it's about how to find ways to use, to recover some political power and to move forward in an active and effective way. It would seem to me that there are, if you think about the society as a whole, we have several fairly distinct groups. We have one group who, we have the 1% who are still definitely in power, and I don't think they're feeling threatened particularly with Donald Trump because he's one of them. But then besides that, you have a fairly good size, certainly not the majority, who see Donald Trump as a kind of savior, that he will find ways to cut through all of the baloney and get the system working again to help ordinary citizens. I don't think that's really going to happen, and I think that's been, he's been doing a con on them. But nevertheless, they are true believers, and they believe that that something needs to change, and that he's going to be the one that changes it. And he's done this a bit by telling them that the problems really are about foreign devils or domestic devils, and so now his first actions as president is to identify and attack those foreign devils and American domestic devils and make it okay to dislike them, whether that's differences in religion, differences in race, simply other American exceptionalism, that we're the best country, and the reason that it's not working isn't because we're not good, it's because other people are creating problems. And so that's he can distract us to believe that we need to focus on foreign and domestic devils to get American purity back, then we'll be distracted with that for a long time. So there's a certain group, not a small group, a relatively good-sized group. They're the ones who elected him, but not a majority, who are there. We have another group. The rest of the people are not happy with Donald Trump. And we have one group within that is still angry as can be and want a kind of vengeance, or they want to find fault about how that happened and sort of replay the election and whose fault it was that whatever happened, and be angry at everybody, and be angry at Trump and try to find ways to get even. From my perspective, that's just a total waste of energy. I mean, I understand frustration and anger, and I understand that, but we're in a time now that it's crucial that we act in effective ways, and being angry at something that we're not going to change is not a very effective way. You can't just stop and say, well, I want to be angry for a while. We don't have time for that, I don't think. But then there's a huge group, a good-sized majority of the people who are very frustrated and angry and see that our American dream and American ideals are being destroyed quickly. They were on their way to being destroyed before this too, but now it's sort of the finishing touches, and all those things that took years to build up are being quickly dismantled, and that's always true. It's much easier to destroy than to build. And he is doing this kind of in your face about it, and we need to figure out how to be effective. So most of these people have, because we have been told for years and years and years and decades that the only civilized way to do things is to work within the system. Well, the system now has been so degraded and has been so abused that it's rigged. You can work within the system, but you're going to use a lot of energy and you're not going to get very far. And we're even in the process of criminalizing dissent. Finding laws that make it okay to run over people who are protesting if they're in your car's way, or to charge people with sort of economic terrorism if they're protesting and stopping things from happening, or just making any protesters liable to arrest. Now, there's nothing especially horrible about that, except that it ends up not being the most effective way of using your time and energy. So it seems to me that we need to begin to find a way to build alternative systems. That doesn't mean we have a revolution with guns and things. It means that people slowly begin to resist and things like that, and to take action, but also to begin to build an alternative system that is more balanced and more like the system that existed at the end of the New Deal. I'm not talking about replicating that exactly, but a system that changes from the 1% rule back to democracy. In other words, we need to begin to rebuild a democratic system, a sort of alternative system that people can migrate to, and walk away from this system that is now so distorted and ruined, and with the courts and the Congress being under the control of the 1%. It's not going to be easy to change this system to make it correct. It's easier to begin to rebuild a system using the basic ideas of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence and the things that are inscribed on the Statue of Liberty. Go back to the American dream, rebuild that, and we have a whole lot of people who are dying to have something like that to begin to support. Now, that's a gradual process. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but as people begin to see that there's an alternative, rather than just beating their heads against the wall with some of the things that Trump is going to do, that eventually they will migrate away from a system that's not working, and the other system will begin to build a piece of energy. I'll leave you with that for now, and we'll talk more about that soon. Again, this is Bob Passy for Democracy Rising America.